Let's make sure. Here we go. This is happening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Edible Spirit Live full moon transmission. Thanksgiving full moon transmission. Okay, great. We love a full moon transmission. We love to do this with you whenever we get the chance to do this with you, every new moon and full moon. Why? Because every time we gather for a new moon and full moon, we wrest control back of our inner clocks and our outer lives by aligning with something bigger than concepts of human productivity and gain and domination and subjugation and capitalism and imperialism and all of that stuff. We connect to ourselves through connecting to the outer cycles of time as measured by the heavenly bodies as they move. If you've been watching these streams for a minute or following Edible Spirit for a minute, you know how this rolls. We give you a little intuitive astro update based on whatever's going on in the sky. Then we give you readings through all of the elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether to start it out. And we give you some suggestions for mini DIY rituals that can help you to harness the power of this moment on your own and with those that you love. So all of this is channeled. This is all coming from the great beyond through my juicy, juicy self. And if you don't, and if you haven't, please do follow youtube.com/EdibleSpirit to get updates about this and weekly readings that come out. Follow at Instagram, on Instagram at EdibleSpirit, Twitter at EdibleSpirit, Facebook.com/EdibleSpirit, and go to EdibleSpirit.com and join the mailing list to get information and updates on all of the new stuff that we're rolling out. As we're rolling it out, there's some cool shit. I know I've been saying this for a minute, but there's some cool stuff that's about to come down the pike, especially in 2019, 2020. So stay with us. Be with us. You are why we do this. You are the community. Everything we do it for you so that you can stay connected to the most delicious, invisible aspect of experience, your energy, the elements, the sun, the moon. Well, those are visible, but the way that those bodies, those heavenly bodies affect your own damn body. That's why we're here. We're here to just make this spiritual stuff as accessible as possible. And we figured we'd do this today because we're grateful for you, but also because energy's high. There's a fucking full moon on Thanksgiving in Gemini, which is the sign of communication, the sign of talking, the sign of action and intelligence and the mind and blah, 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 blah. So there's going to be a lot of that today. Building through the day. Hi, Angel. There's going to be a lot of that today. A lot of blah, 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 building through the whole day. And we're going into the astro because remembering that a full moon is when the sun is across from the moon in the sky. So the moon is in the opposite sign that the sun is in. The sun is freshly, as of what? Yesterday? Today? Yeah, no, today. Freshly into Sagittarius. So there is a sense of emerging from the depths and going into the distance, going into the great beyond. And the moon in Gemini gives us this internal awareness of like, what do I think about this going beyond? What do I think now that I've come out of Scorpio season and all of the deep, dark nooks and crannies and territories that it took me into? If you don't watch the Elements of Spirit readings, which we do every week, do go to youtube.com/EdibleSpirit. Check out the Elements of Spirit for this week, because the Elements of Spirit, it's the weekly reading series through the elements of ether, earth, air, water, and fire. And the affirmation this week was, why am I enough? Right? So we just kicked into Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is the planet of the mind, and this all came through in the Elements of Spirit readings. It's almost like the next couple weeks we get to figure out and ask the question again and again and again, why am I enough? Based on everything that I went through during Mars retrograde, which was in the summer, based on everything that I went through during Venus retrograde, which was in the fall, why am I enough? What have I learned about myself and my values and what matters to me and my shadow material and whatever I was avoiding in the last month or so? What have I learned? Where am I at? You know, what is falling into place? What makes sense now? And we have the next couple weeks of this new heady space of Mercury retrograde to kind of teach us, give us the chance to really learn those lessons and understand those ideas about what's different and what's changed. Okay, so that was all in the elements of spirit readings. Today, that Mercuric energy, is it fucking conjunct? Oh no, it's very close to the sun. It's not fully conjunct the sun, but it's close to the sun. And Mercury is retrograde in Sagittarius. Okay, so what does that mean? Full moon, that's why we're here. Sun in Sagittarius, going beyond, just different from Scorpio, which is watery. Sagittarius is fiery and like expansive. Scorpio is like deep and dark and stanky, sexy stanky, but still stanky. So you'll notice that when the sun changes signs, everybody kind of gets a freshie. The freshie that we're in right now is big, is epic, it's spiritual. It's about going past your limitations as individuals, but also as a collective kind of solar experience of going beyond, getting out there. Sagittarius is connected with higher education, learning new things, spiritual practice. Yeah, religion to some extent, but also just like the way that religion helps us to go beyond, beyond, beyond. Today, Thanksgiving, this full moon, the Gemini full moon, is giving everybody deep fucking feelings that they need to communicate about where we are, where we're going, idealism, going beyond. And then, this is the really gnarly thing, this sun-moon thing that's happening in the sky, where Gemini is encouraging us to understand what we need to understand, Gemini moon, encouraging us to understand what we need to understand in order to go beyond our limitations as individuals and as a collective. Both of those planets, the sun and the moon, are in a square to Mars in the sky, which fucking blows, okay? The sun is also conjunct Jupiter, right? So big expansive energy. And then Mars comes in between sun and Jupiter and the moon and adds all of this fire, right? Adds all of this fire as Mars tries to move through Pisces, move through emotions, move. So Mars is that planet of action and activity, right? Which was retrograde for so long earlier this year, moving through deep, deep waters right now. Okay, so basically our feeling, just even looking at this chart, is that Mars is going to add more fire to the sun and Jupiter in Sagittarius, which is already pretty fucking fiery, and to the moon, which is across the way in Gemini. So there's just going to be a lot of like deep emotional heat cooking in everybody, moving through shit, trying to talk about that shit. Oh God. So effectively what we're getting as we're looking at this is like, it's probably going to be hard to hold your tongue today. It's probably going to be hard to not speak up. It's probably going to be hard to like pretend that if someone thinks differently than you, that it doesn't piss you off or that it doesn't actually hurt you. You know, even the idea of Mars and Pisces, it's like the fire and the purpose and the drive of Mars moving through deep collective unconscious material. So like if you're triggered over Thanksgiving dinner and you have the ability to be communicative and direct and confrontational while also being compassionate, for me, this chart looks like an ideal space where it's like the conflict's going to happen, the growth is going to occur as individuals, as a collective. We're going to be getting deep impressions about where we're at and where we need to go, right? The limitations of where we are and where we actually need to get to. That's all in the air. And then Mars is pumping those ideas with more heat and more fire and more energy. So it's like, speak the fuck up, right? Speak up, but try to do so using the collective compassion and merginess of Pisces. We are literally all in this together. Nobody gets to be right. Nobody gets to be wrong. We just got to figure it out. How to not kill each other, how to not kill everything. Literally how to go beyond the paradigms and limitations of materialism, of subjugation, of violence, of misogyny, of just all of these things that make us feel like we get to do shit to other people because they're different from us, right? And it's interesting because it's like this chart to me also doesn't feel very American. It's not like, oh, today's a day to be thankful about America and Thanksgiving and the country and the nation. Every fucking day is a good day to be thankful. Ugh, like seriously. And why do we have to get wasted and bloated in order to be thankful? right? The concept is that abundance is within us always. There's plenty to go around if we are all generous and giving more than we're taking. Because if everybody was giving Thanksgiving, if everybody was giving, you know, they would, if everybody was giving, nobody would be lacking. If everybody had stuff going out, nobody would be missing anything, right? So the idea here is that Mars is going to be pushing you to draw power from a bigger vision of what you think is possible for yourself and for us as a collective, right? Draw power from that bigger vision and to feel deeply within yourself the words that need to be communicated, or even just listen to in yourself the words that need to be noticed, right? Communicated outwardly or heard inwardly, that give you a sense of kind of applying the heat that's coming from Mars moving through the space of deep collective pain. So speak up about our collective pain in a way that hopefully takes us beyond the limitations that we are currently living in. Speak up about collective pain to take us beyond restrictive paradigms of consumption. One more thing, just because, you know, it's really nice and idealistic when you're rocking this spiritual tip or working in these spiritual professions to like bitch about like, oh, consumption's a problem. Like, oh, we eat too much and we just waste everywhere. And like, yeah, it is. But the extremeness of, oh, yes, we don't understand anyone who survived the Paradise fires and their families did. The houses are all gone. I'm thankful for this. Yeah, bro. Yes. Okay, yes. So this is a perfect example, though, is that like when we grow, when we consume, right? When we go for excess, it's not actually abundant. It's very grabby, right? Giving away is the way to prove your abundance, right? And also, very spiritual concept, making do, not just making do, being grateful for nothing. Right? Being grateful for existence, being grateful for health in the body and peace in the mind and joy in the heart, and literally a fucking table, right? To a table with a cup of noodles is like a feast, right? For a large portion of this world. So if we have the luxury of eating all this delicious food and even broadcasting or tuning into a fucking Instagram live stream or YouTube live stream, if we have that ability, right? My sense is that like leisure means you gotta cultivate gratitude, because as soon as you're grateful for nothing, as soon as you're grateful for where you are and what you do have, immediately you have more than you think. And now you can actually share more and give more, right? And that's what I was gonna say is like, when you're rocking this spiritual tip, when you're working in a spiritual profession, it's trendy to talk about waste and consumption, because we're fucking trash heaps. Like human beings are gross and disgusting, and we do consume too much and we do generate so much waste. But it's like, it's a very quiche soundbite to be like, oh, consumption, it's too much. When we have to remember that, you know, nature creates her own fires to end cycles and start new things, right? People eat, there's waste, right? Like bones fall to the wayside. Animals eat everything on something. You know, the sinkholes open up and the earth swallows stuff. So like, and we're humans, right? We're not actually just living in the middle of nature anymore. So this idea of like zero waste is an ideal that sometimes I worry makes people, you know, give up on maybe just like a little less waste, or maybe just like a little less empty, obsessive, crazy consumption. Namaste, thank you. Okay, so the idea of this is just to say that there's so much extremeness going on right now. And there's literally an opposition in the sky between where our power is coming from and how we're speaking up about that power, what our limitations are and how we're speaking up about those limitations, and how we're using that Mars energy to come up with collective solutions for how to go past our limitations as individuals and as a group, right? All of that's happening. So my point is let's back the fuck away from the extremes, right? We don't need to shame people for having a tradition, right? We do need to talk about the way that this tradition is based upon the colonialism and the imperialism of subjugating brown bodies, right? That are giving us corn and such, you know? And so it's all good, right? There's no need to be like, gross. It's consumption America. You know, it's like, fucking yeah, consumption America, but my heart hurts, your heart hurts on some level. So if it feels a little better to eat turkey today, today's the day. We're not going to stop the killing of turkeys today. Like, let's be together and replenish so that we can do the real work, which, just going to guess, is not actually about saving the turkeys. It's actually about ending the consumption little by little by little. Okay, rant done, over, gone. Also, it's not a rant. That was a fucking astrological channel. So I hope you enjoyed it. Next, we're dropping some wonderful live stream readings for all of the elements about how to best harness the power of this full moon in Gemini. Sexy. Again, youtube.com/EdibleSpirit to subscribe to these readings. And you can also go to EdibleSpirit.com/elements in order to see the weekly readings from this past week, which actually were just posted yesterday. So it's sometimes nice to weave together these different resources that we're providing you because, oh, we were talking to someone else. Our goal is not to make you beholden to our psychic pussy. Our goal is to show you the ease of vibration and juiciness that flows from this psychic pussy, so that you remember and recognize that your psychic pussy is just as juicy and that you have all the guidance that you need within you. And by saturating your space with as much supportive, resourceful information, delicious, mystical information as possible coming from Edible Spirit, weaving in all your other fucking memes and subscriptions and people and beings, the whole idea is that you're supposed to figure it out. You're supposed to know. You're supposed to find the truth. It's not up to any of us. It's only up to you. So please remember that every time you tune in here, we are working to, empower you, teach you whatever we know, because our goal as a teacher is always to make ourselves obsolete. So take it, suck it up, drink it. Edible Spirit, spirituality that makes you want to swallow. Okay. First things first, we're going to give you a card for the ether. How best to harness the mojo of this full moon in Gemini for everyone. Ether. Whoa! Oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. Oh, it's so good. This would be the card. The Tower. The Tower. How best to harness this? So what this actually says is to use the power of Mars in Pisces, right? That Martian power as some fire, as some fuel to blast past your perceived limitations and to really push out the communication that needs to come from within you. So this actually, you know, I was being like bold but moderate, and this card actually says the best way for us to use the mojo of this lunation, of this full moon, is to use that fire to blast some shit out. Things about the Tower too. It represents the destruction that precedes rebuilding with an even greater foundation. Oh, wow. Wow. If you're still here, James, you got to know this. It's like the Tower, it's literally burning buildings, right? And it's that idea that nature causes things to burn so that they can be rebuilt with greater integrity, right? Literally, so that paradise can be rebuilt with greater integrity. I mean, how's that for a fucking, you hear what I'm saying? How's that for a metaphor, right? And I'm not even trying to make you feel better. It's literally like, this is a cosmic principle of the Tower, that everything that's created moves in cycles, and part of that cycle is the destruction of something so that something new can be reborn. And we lose track of that because our lives are so finite, right? And we have a sense of however long we have left if we're lucky. And the idea is that, you know, all of these things cycle and return. And James, talking to you again, exactly what you did, to be able to look at a tragedy, a trauma, like losing your home, and to see it this quickly as a way to be grateful for what you have. I mean, in my practice, that is advanced spiritual training, because to find your power in having nothing, right, makes it possible so that anybody you encounter today or in the near future who feels that they have nothing, you know what it's like to remind them that you can be grateful for that. You never have nothing. As long as you're breathing, you've got yourself, you've got your being, you've got your presence, you're here, right? So this is extreme, you know, and I don't want to be sounding insensitive at all either. And I'm definitely not encouraging anyone to burn anything. But the idea would be that this ether card, this card of the Tower, is telling us all to let our hearts burn brightly and let our love and our certainty and our hope and our idealism take over this globe, right? With a blaze of destruction and rebuilding, destruction of prisons and bondage and difference and subjugation, and rebuilding on a foundation of not even fucking anything other than mutual respect, you know? It's like, but that idea of that fire destroys so that new things can be reborn. It's like sometimes fire destroys shit that is not integrated and that's not stable, that would be dangerous to live within, you know? So let's just remind ourselves of that, you know, that we can be grateful for change and the way that we can contribute to it, right? To rebuild. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pull these. Okay. So this is for the element of air, which includes the sun signs of Libra, Gemini, right? Yes. I'm so grateful for that. Everything is replaceable or not needed. You're totally right, James. They're all alive. And I'm so grateful for that. Everything is replaceable or not needed. And again, connect to that confidence in your heart that everything is replaceable or not needed, right? And you got everything. Okay, so air signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. Best way for you to harness this lunation, it's the Child of Worlds, also known as the Page of Discs. It's all about play, experience, journeys, magic, fantasies, and it's reversed. It's reversed here. So it's just saying, let yourself... this is not your first time at the rodeo, so don't act like it is, right? This is sort of me just saying, like, whatever that means to you, whatever it means to use that Tower card to break through, harness your power, put yourself out there, break down the old forms, build up the new ones. This says don't fuck around, air signs, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. Don't fuck around. Don't act like it's low stakes, because nothing's low stakes anymore. Even if the Democrats are taking the House, like, nothing is low stakes anymore. None of it is low stakes, because the earth is literally ticking before she's like, oh, right? So none of it's low stakes, right? Magic is still possible, but magic requires presence and clarity of intention. If you're fucking around, if you're the player like this, it's not about presence and clarity of intention. It's about getting lost in the joy and the fun and the fantasy. So when it's reversed, it says get lost in the joy and the fun and the fantasy. Have the joy and fun and fantasy, but don't get lost inside of it. Don't fuck around, right? Open, enjoy, but stay focused on your intention, which is to blast through limiting paradigms and communicate the truth of how you want to move beyond, or how we can be willing to converse about how you feel inside about the best way that we can move on and move beyond. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, next is the fire babies, element of fire, which includes the sun signs of Aries, Leo, and Gemini. Okay, I'm sorry, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Fire babies, what is the best way for you to harness this full moon and to enjoy and embody this lunation? Okay, cool. What it says here, it's the Man of Wands, also known as the Actor, and it just says, as you push through, just going off also of what came through with the elements of spirit the other day, as you push through processing what you've learned from the last 6 or 7 months, it feels like you're stepping up to do something major. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, stepping up to do something major. And when the actor comes up here, the Man of Wands, it really just says, like, fake it till you make it. Act like you know what you're doing. Be clear about who you are and what you're doing. And almost try to override your stage fright, override your nerves, override too much worry, or fretfulness, or shakiness, right? There's no reason for you to be freaked out. Be bold. The air signs, again, were like, don't fuck around. For you guys, it's like, if you feel like backing out, no, actually put on a fierce costume, you know, literally, like, change your look if you need to. And that's going to help you show up in order to do, actor, Man of Wands, to do what you need to do what you're here to do. Okay, that's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Water babies, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Ooh, I wish I had a little more light here, but water babies are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And for you guys, what's the best way for you to harness the mojo of this lunation? For us too, because I'm a Scorpio sun. Wow. Man of Worlds, also known as the Achiever. So what this says is, oh yeah, did I show you Man of Worlds? The best way, and it's reversed as well. So the best way to harness this lunation is, again, to remember what you're doing, be clear about what you're doing, and don't stop moving towards that accomplishment or that achievement, right? What are you doing to go beyond our limitations? How are you contributing? Or just what are you doing to go beyond your own limitations, right? Who are you prepared to speak to in relationship or at work or in your family based on who you are now because of what you've gone through in the last few months? Here it says, or, you know, bigger picture, what are you working towards in order to contribute to the great harmony of our collective, right? How are you going to help us go beyond? Don't bitch out. Be clear that that's where you're going, but manage your expectations about how much you got to do before you get there. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, right? You're on the path is what this says. You're on the path. You see this gorgeous marathon runner, right? Number 1. You're on the path. You're running. It's before you. And really, when it's upright, it's like, you know, just go through the finish line, achieve. But when it's upside down, it's really about endurance. And it says you're gonna finish the race. You're not wrong about what you're here doing. Mercury retrograde is going to help you to understand more what exactly you're supposed to be doing. And again, just to repeat, everybody should have kind of an idea, or it shouldn't take that much of a stretch to get to the bottom of, why am I worthy? Based on what happened in this you know, summer and what happened in the fall. These kinds of, first of all, like, challenges, and then internal revelations, right? Internal experiences have yielded an awareness of who you are now. You're someone new. It's not like an eclipse new person. It's not like, oh my God, I'm a different person on the other side of the eclipse, although there was an eclipse over the summer. It feels more so like I've earned these new stripes. So if you don't feel like you've earned new stripes, if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel good enough, you got to do a little bit more thinking. You got to think a little bit harder, because you have earned some new stripes. You are good enough. You just got to figure out why. And that's why the Elements of Spirit reading this week was, why am I enough? Why am I enough? So for us, it's important, water babies, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, it's important to remember we are on the path. We are in the marathon. We're not getting out of the game. We are going to cross the finish line eventually, but now is not the moment to push for the finish. Now is the moment to remember that it's a fucking marathon and that we're not sprinting, right? Oh, Toby, you just missed it. Sagittarius for the fire was the actor. It's like, if you don't feel that you have the confidence to do what you're doing, if you don't quite believe that you are who you are yet, after Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde, if you haven't quite figured out why you're worthy, put on a new look, put on a new face, change your fucking hair, change your outfit, change something, go dress in drag and show up to be the person that you think you are, which, even if you don't really believe that you're that person yet, that's fire. Okay, love you. Okay, next. Earth babies, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. Check this out. How best for y'all to harness this lunation, full moon lunation. How fun. 8 of crystals. Okay, synthesis. This is really good. So I had a great chat with one of my most beloved Capricorns the other day. Love them. And we were talking about how unnatural this Mercury retrograde is going to feel for the Earth signs, because air is the opposite sign from Earth. There's just a lot of air and fire just getting expansive and explosive. And like we said, helping us to process the experiences of the last 6 months or so into something understandable so that we can align with that new identity and be who we are now, someone who is most definitely enough. Right? And the Mercury retrograde is going to reveal to us why we are enough. So what you guys get is you get the 8 of crystals, which is a card called synthesis, also known as the 8 of swords, which it just says, like, slow down, be where you are, let things fall into place, let the Mercury retrograde create problems for you so that you can find solutions to those problems. And poof, by the end of the retrograde, everything's come together because you haven't been pushing it. You've been being where you are, sitting in your stuff, and allowing the sort of microfilaments of your mind to reorganize into a more pleasing and symmetrical fashion. Do you ever have that feeling? This has happened over the last few days for me too. Do you ever have that feeling where you like go to bed and you're just like, oh God, I can't even deal with my existence. And then you wake up and it's like, oh, doesn't totally make sense, but it makes more sense than it did yesterday. That idea of letting things fall into place so that you can think about yourself and your situation anew, so that you can then align with that being, align with that self, and be that person and let that identity rock with you. Example, I try not to give examples of myself, but I hope it helps. I always thought you're not a musician. You're not a musician. You're not a musician. You're not an artist. You're not a drawer, just all those things. And then over the last couple of years, I've been just lovingly and gently exploring my old musical self, taking voice classes, practicing things, developing a collaborative project with one of my most beloved, beautiful beings and friends who I'm very thankful for on this day. And, you know I have a lot farther to go, but at least I have eradicated the idea that I'm not something. I know that I am who I am. I am here. And I can think of myself ever so slightly differently. I still have a lot to prove to myself. I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot I want to do. But my mind has changed about who I am and how I am. So that's what we think this Mercury retrograde is going to do. Help you to change your mind about who you think you are and how you think you are based on the distilled sort of content from the last 6 months, from before the summer, really May until now. So let those things come together. Let that understanding become clear. And remember, everyone, that this is all about the tower. It's like, it's not happening next week. It's not happening yesteryear. It's happening now. It's happening now. The breakthrough is now. The breakthrough is now. And the Downs taking the house is an example of that. But, it's still partisan politics. It's still us versus them, one versus the other, Good. I hope so. It's all happening. It's all happening right now. So that's what I really want to leave you with today. Let's see about our ritual suggestion. For whatever reason, this is coming through. This is really happening. This is really happening. And they're giving us a little bit of a ritual to observe what is happening in concentric circles, from self in self, right, to self in relationship, to self in family, self in community, self in state, self in nation, self in hemisphere, self in world, self in solar system, hot self, galaxy, self, and universe, right? Take a moment. Take a moment. Yeah. Take a moment to observe the experience of self in each of these realms. In each of these realms. And as you move from plane to plane, say aloud, I promise to go beyond. Feeling like hot. Okay. Hot. That's great, guys. Okay. I promise to go beyond unnecessary limitations. And then so the idea of this is what they're giving us is to take your body from just the experience of being yourself inside of yourself into yourself in relationship, yourself in family, yourself in community, in state, in nation, in hemisphere, in world, in solar system, in galaxy, in the universe. And as you move between each of these planes, you say, I promise to go beyond unnecessary limitations and to communicate the essence of my learning and experience with compassion for all. Okay? So how beautiful is that, right? A lovely little ritual for all of us. I'm going to write this down. It'll be on Instagram and on YouTube and wherever I can snatch this on there, and we'll zhuzh it out. But basically, you want to get into a quiet, beautiful, lovely, sacred space, light your candle, some incense, whatever, and then you set the intention that you're going to do a ritual to honor the full moon in Gemini and to practice, oh wait, what did we write over here? To practice speaking up about collective pain to take us beyond restrictive paradigms of consumption. I mean, how's that for a full moon intention? I'm going to speak up about collective pain to take us beyond restrictive paradigms of consumption. So there's no fucking finger pointing here. There's no, oh, you did this, or Trump did that, or this is what happened. Like, that's not going to help. It's really not going to help. We have to talk about collective pain in order to take ourselves beyond restrictive paradigms of consumption. So the idea here then is that you already exist on all of these levels. You exist as a being from within yourself on the earth to the farthest reaches of the cosmos. Self on the earth, farthest reaches of the cosmos. So what you're doing is you're just focusing on these various areas of your experience, even if you don't typically focus on them, and pausing in between each of these experiences as you get more and more expansive to promise that you're going to go beyond unnecessary limitations and communicate the learning and experience that you have from going beyond these limitations with compassion. Most of the hatred, violence, and subjugation that we experience in this life is a result of people not wanting to go beyond their comfort zone. Not wanting to change, not wanting to die and be reborn, right? Fear, right? Fear of change, fear of shedding an old form and opening up a new one. So as you move from each of these areas of experience to a subtler and subtler, higher, more expansive one, you may clock things about whatever plane you're visualizing or focusing on, or anything that you've just been through, right? As you're making this journey, that actually helps you to be more compassionate and to have conversations from a broader point of view, to engage and build relationships and build projects and build work and build life on a foundation of a bigger point of view, as opposed to the smaller point of view that we can often fall into when we're on our respective sides, right? Because the fucking earth is round, guys, so there are no sides. There are no sides. No sides, right? I'm thankful for that. Thankful for unity. Thankful for connection. Okay, so with compassion for all, and then you're going to Om from the smallest to the largest experience of self. That sort of takes this work that you're doing formally in this magical sacred space and kind of consecrates it and gives the benefits of it to the larger collective by doing this experience yourself and then just setting the intention that you're going to Om it from the tiniest part of your body. All the way to the edges of the universe, moving through all of these areas that we're able to experience as humans. And then you finish up by offering gratitude, offering thanks, and remembering this promise that you've made to go beyond unnecessary limitations and to communicate the essence of your learning and experience with compassion for all. We're done here. We're done here. We're so done here. Everyone, I love you. Happy Thanksgiving. You mean the world to me. Once again, follow EdibleSpirit.com or go join the mailing list at EdibleSpirit.com, YouTube.com/EdibleSpirit in order to get updates for when these streams happen, for when our weekly readings happen. Twitter and Instagram at EdibleSpirit. Anything else? I think that's it. I love you guys. Thanks, Rach. I hope you had a great weekend, sis. Happy birthday, Scorps. Happy birthday, coming Gemini Scorps. Wait, that's so Scorp. To be like Geminis. I mean, happy birthday, Sagittarius. But maybe Sagittarius is just a Gemini Scorpion. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Love you so fucking much. What can we do here? How can I prove my love to you? I can prove my love to you like this. Ooh, oh, I love you. Love you. Again, I'm doing an Instagram filter that's super cute. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you so much. See you next time. Follow and such. Bye.